Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Flash and this is another Marvel Snap video. Thank you again for joining me, and if you're enjoying these videos, I'd very much appreciate if you hit the like button and get this stuff out to some other people. So in this video I want to talk about why I think Master Mold is the best new card in Marvel Snap. Now, I've mentioned this before in the previous videos I did about the upcoming new cards into the game, that this month in particular was going to see probably the best influx of the 4 new cards introduced in that season, including the season pass card, which was this month. Again, if you haven't been keeping up, and obviously I'm sure most of you have been, but got Nimrod, Master Mold, Kitty Pryde, and Negasonic, the Teenage Warhead. And that being said, some of the things I said before was that I feel that Master Mold was going to be a great card and that it was going to fit nicely into a lot of places. And I think that it turned out to be accurate. Now, I will say this up front. No, I do not have the card as of yet. And as I've said before, I am Series 3 complete. I have several bunch of Series 4 and a couple of Series 5 cards, I think. No, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I have Darkhawk and I have Shadow King, even though I didn't want it, just popped up in the cache one day. But I have some of these cards, and you know, I have a good chunk of the cards to make these decks. But I don't have I don't have Sauron, you know, like I don't have all the cards that some of these tech cards that make these other archetypes work. So here's my feelings on Master Mold. Now, if you don't know, Master Mold is a 2/2 with an on reveal effect that reads, add 2 sentinels to your opponent's hand. Now, I am a big fan of how this card is going to function and how it seems to be functioning. A lot of people that have the card are laying a lot of praise onto the card, and it's understandably why, right? So one of the obvious archetypes that it would fit into is Ronin. So if you have been waiting to maybe play Ronin and have a reason to play Ronin, as I said before, this card does that well, right? So because Ronin is based on how many, gets bigger based on how many cards your opponent has in hand. That being said, again, these are now 2 cards in your opponent's hand that they cannot get rid of unless it gets leached, right, or something like that. And then it could just drop it, and then the on reveal effect wouldn't trigger. Or if you drop it into a Cosmo Lane or something like that. That's the only way that they can get this card out of their hand and not keep it cycling. If they dropped it into a Cosmo Lane, or they dropped it on Leave Nowhere is the location where on reveal effects don't happen. Aside from those 2 very specific conditions, you drop this card down, you have now added 2 cards to your opponent's hand that they cannot get rid of, because when they play the Sentinel, just gonna drag another Sentinel back into their hand. It works more with Ronin. You can get it to work with Zabu. You know, if you keep pumping cards into your opponent's hands in other ways and they stop drawing cards, this can have a nice little synergy with did I say Zabu before? I'm sorry, I meant to say Darkhawk. This can have a nice little synergy with Darkhawk. Okay, so it works best with Ronin, can work really well with Darkhawk. Where this also fits in, I wrote some of these things down, I'm sure I did, yes. Where this also fits in is into, in my opinion, as I've said before, I'm a big fan of Serra and Serra decks. Fits in well in here. Fits well into the Serra decks in these control archetypes where you want to overall be disrupting things that your opponent is doing. This is just another piece for that card to doing it. Serra wants to play a lot of the small cards and wants to get cards like Bishop out and take advantage of that turn 6 play where you can play multiple things. 1 and 2 cost cards, and Master Mold being a 2 cost card, boom. But this is also probably something you want to have down before you hit turn 6 if you're playing it into a Serra deck. And most importantly, the best way this deck fits, like this card fits, and again, I mentioned Ronin, just overall disruption, disrupt type toxic-ish build of decks. Now, I've been playing card games for many years now, and hand disruption and cost reduction are like the two biggest things you can be doing in a card game to either A, annoy your opponent, or B, make it very difficult for them. Those two things, you know, whether that be through one of those two avenues via hand disruption or lowering card costs on your side. I can tell you straight up, playing a lot of Magic, when you disrupt their hand, when you play a turn 1 duress, for my Magic fans, you know what I'm talking about, and you just pull something out of their hand and just throw it into the graveyard, yeah, you get a lot of turn 1, turn 2 scoops. If you play 3 turns of hand disruption, your opponents quit a lot. Okay. If you leave your opponent with nothing to do, if they can't draw cards or they have no cards to pull from, if you like kind of milling their deck, these are things that are very quote unquote toxic and are very annoying, and your opponents don't like it and they quit a lot of the time, but very fun to do. And that's obviously naturally where Master Mold fits in best. Again, also offshoot with Ronin. So I think it's a great card. It turns out it is a great card. Again, my opinion, I think it's the best of all 4 cards being released this month. And I say that because it fits into different places, right? Nimrod fits in great, but you have to activate it, right? Nimrod has to be destroyed. You have to put it into a location that destroys it. You have to destroy it with Carnage or Deathlock or Venom or Arnim Zola. You have to be doing something. Destroyer, Galactus, for Nimrod to trigger. It fits into a tight window. All right. Kitty Pryde, I think, will be a cool card. I think it'll be a nice little tech piece. As far as something another 1-cost card that does different things, right? Like right now, Sunspot is dominating the meta for the number 1 played card in the game right now, coming in close to 50% of games includes a Sunspot. Okay, so more 1-cost cards that are viable, that aren't just that don't do a lot, it'll be interesting to see how Kitty Pryde works. And the more I think about Negasonic, the more I think that Negasonic is the bottom of these 4 cards. And I say that because, yes, the effect is great. If your opponent has a card in lane and you play a card into the lane, everything's destroyed. The other card is destroyed as well. Or if they play a card into it, you put the Negasonic before they play the card, whatever. Here's why I think right now, this season, Negasonic is it's because the Shuri and Thanos archetypes are kind of dominating things, right? The Thanos archetype is flooding so much stuff on the board. The Negasonic is not even gonna, the disruption there is not gonna hit. And a lot of the stones, once they're played, it's done. A lot of times you have opponents that killmonger everything on the board, right? And against the Shuri decks, you think, oh, this is almost like a Shang-Chi. I could just put it in the lane, they put that big thing down, and poof, no problem. Here's the problem. Is that these Shuri decks, and I play a lot of Shuri, just runs armor. So you put an armor and you put that that first big power thing in the lane there, and yeah, there you go. That Negasonic is null and void. It's gonna have a hard time right now. Some things are gonna have to happen for Negasonic, I think, to kind of want to see play. But that's neither here nor there. Master Mold. Big question is it worth spending 6,000 tokens on Master Mold? The answer to the question is no. Absolutely not. Okay? When your options are, for example, if you don't have Thanos, you don't have Galactus, You don't have Kang, and Master Mold is one of your options, and you don't have those other three, you're not picking Master Mold over those other three options. Maybe Kang, but man, that's egregiously debatable. No, you're not spending 6,000 tokens for this card, especially if you're not Series 3 complete. It's not even a question. Finish your Series 3, collection before you consider this stuff. And by the time you get to that point, it'll be down to 3,000 tokens. Is it worth 3,000 tokens? Yes, I would say so, definitely. Just for the things that it's gonna look like it's going to do long term as far as hand disruption goes, this card is worth 3,000 tokens. 6,000, however, no, it's not worth 6,000 tokens. Unfortunately, you gotta acquire the big bads first, because this is a card you know is gonna come down in cost. All right, so wait it out. If you pop it into cash, great, have fun. Okay, because it's a great card, especially if you play those control archetypes or those hand disrupt archetypes. If you play those type of decks, you're gonna love this card. Period. End of story. And that's it. Is it worth 6,000? No. Is it a good card? Yes. Is it worth 3,000? Yes. Okay. So that's it. That's how I feel about Master Mold. And again, I thank you guys for watching these videos and coming back for more videos. I very much appreciate that. And again, if you get a like button, let's get it out to some more people. I would very much appreciate that. And I am Flash, and thank you guys again for checking out another video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.